So we're about to get started in a second. We were just having a conversation around what people have for experience so far related to utilizing AI. One of the things that popped up in that conversation was that a lot of where people are around using this technology is like they heard it's something that exists and they try it out a little bit and like maybe when they try it out, they're like, oh, this is cool. Or they get frustrated, like, no, this isn't working for me. It's not for me. So we see those two different ends of the spectrum. Megan, what's your experience so far with AI?
I'm just using Chat GPT to write text and mostly to like get me started on text, and then I edit it, and I found it really helpful. Nothing really with imagery, just text.
Yeah, great. So that's definitely a fundamental that we talk about throughout our. So this is like a preview of what we're going to do in a course. So this is a course we're teaching coming up, a 4-week course where we get into like utilizing it for image generation too and content marketing for sure. But the overarching concept is going to be like this isn't the end all be all. You do have to have some finesse that you're doing with the stuff that it produces. What you can find, and we'll talk about some of the concepts related to prompt engineering and how you can create really intricate, elaborate prompts for it to do multiple tasks for you and be able to do things like incorporate your own voice into that. All right, Cindy, I think we're ready to go. If you want
Okay.
to bring it over to the next
All
slide.
right.
All right, so I'm Jamie, the owner of Empowered Digital Marketing and Empowered Social Media. I'm with Cindy. Cindy's our AI expert on the team. It's a lot of Cindy's life. I mean, Cindy's project manager for us, content marketing expert, and a big part of what she's been working on for the past 6 months has been AI and really getting to know how to use AI and creating some really cool results for us and other businesses that are utilizing it. So Cindy is going to have more of the high level answer stuff for us today and in the future in the course. Excellent. This is outlining what the 4-week course looks like. It's similar to week 1 is similar to what we get into today, but we go even deeper into it. Week 2, we start to look at all the different tools that are available for content generating, for image generating, and then we get into prompt engineering in week 3, how to develop really elaborate prompts. You'll see some today. And usually when people see it, they're like, wow, that's what a prompt looks like. That's what you can do with a prompt. That's crazy. And then week 4, so week 3, we start to get into how people can develop their own prompts. We have some exercises and have some time in class to develop it. And then week 4 is really live. And we're looking at creating prompts and adjusting prompts. All right, Cindy, you can move on. All right, so today's plan, we're going to talk about why AI, the journey of AI, AI models, prompt engineering, and we're going to get into use cases. All right, Cindy, you get to take over now.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is a subject that I'm super passionate about, so I'm really excited to be here and share it all with you. So, well, why AI? Why should you learn it? Well, artificial intelligence is still growing. It's kind of in a boom right now. A lot of these tools can be applied throughout different departments to your company. They can save you time, increase accuracy and efficiency. And jobs requiring knowledge for AI or machine learning are expected to increase by 71% over the next 5 years. So we're just at the beginning of it, at the beginning of the boom. And if you guys see this chart here, it says the majority of businesses expect generative AI to disrupt their industries in the next 5 years. This source that I got is kind of old. If you look at it, it says February 2023. So by now things have changed a lot. That's the one thing that you guys will see in this industry is that with AI, things change day by day. Like, and this has happened with me and Jamie. I will tell Jamie, look, check this new feature out or check this out. And then by next week, it's like, oh, that's old news. now we're doing it this way. So that's one of the things that's very, very rapid moving. So I'm going to walk you through the journey of AI, because a lot of people think that it just kind of happened overnight, and it didn't. This has been a long, long process. So here we can see that you can really date back AI to the 1950s to Alan Turing. And if you guys have seen the film The Imitation Game, you guys are familiar with who he is. He was a British mathematician, and he was responsible for creating what we know of today as the first computer. And it was really a code breaker, and it helped decode the Nazi communication. So it was very instrumental in helping us win the war. And because he is known as the father of computer science, computers are put through a test called the Turing test. And that's pretty much if it can fool a human, that's the test. So again, this started in the 1950s, then flash forward to the 1966, and MIT creates ELIZA. That's an early natural language processing program. Then nothing happens for a while. They're still developing. We go to 1980. And in 1980, the expert system is a significant AI application that aims to replicate the decision-making process in human experts. Again, just bear with me. I know a lot of this is technical. I'm just gonna bulldoze through it so you guys can get an idea that this is not overnight. So from 1980, we jump to 1997. IBM's Deep Blue chess computer defeats a human, a world chess champion, which is big, a computer defeating a human. Then we jump to 1999 when, I don't know if you guys remember this little pet robot that Sony put in the market. I remember it. It was really cute. I wanted one. And then we jump to 2002 when iRobot releases the Roomba. Then we jump to 2005 when Stanley, it's a self-driving car developed by Stanford University, wins the DARPA Grand Challenge. 2007, Fei Ling and other researchers begin developing ImageNet, and that's a large visual database that becomes key for advancing machine learning algorithms and image recognition. We jump to 2011. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I do. IBM's Watson AI system competes on Jeopardy and wins against human champions. I remember that was really exciting. And in the same year, Apple introduces Siri, which you all know Siri. 2012, Google X Lab developed a neural network that can automatically recognize cats in YouTube videos. Now, this is big because now you have a machine language that can recognize things. So even though they tested it with cats, and it may seem a little pointless, why cats, why YouTube? It's a big leap for machine learning. In 2014, Amazon introduces Alexa. That's their virtual assistant. Now here we go, 2015, Tesla begins rolling out the autopilot feature, which gives the cars partial autonomy. In 2016, Google's DeepMind develops AlphaGo, an AI that defeats the world champion Go player, Lee Sedol. Now this is huge because if you guys know the game Go, it's super complex. So that was really big for a computer to beat a human. Now we jump to 2018, where OpenAI introduces ChatGPT-2. Now you guys have mentioned that you guys are familiar with ChatGPT, so it's a language learning language model. Then we're going to jump to November 2020 when OpenAI releases GPT-3, and that's what currently we use. They have GPT-4, but that's in beta testing mode, and that's on a paid plan. But for the most part, we're still using GPT-3. Then in January 2021, OpenAI releases DALL-E, and that is a language model that gives you images, so it's image generation. And then in May 2022, Google releases Llama, which is another language model. And then we have May 2022, DeepMind releases Gato, which is another language model. May 2022, Google AI releases Palm, another language model. So you guys can see, like, it's there. This is slowly being developed. It's not a huge boom. It's a boom right now, but it didn't come from nowhere. So we have August 2022, Meta releases BlenderBot. That's another language model. So there's different language models. ChatGPT isn't the only one. We have February 2023, which Microsoft partners with OpenAI and releases Bing ChatGPT. So Microsoft did invest a lot of money in OpenAI. So they have a huge stake in it, and they're partially the reason why OpenAI has been able to be so successful, because they had a lot of Microsoft's money to go ahead and continue to develop and perfect their service. In March 2023, OpenAI releases ChatGPT 4 and the API, which allows developers to use it. So this is really big because with the API, it allows other developers to utilize it and to create other services. So there are other, like for instance, Jasper uses ChatGPT under the hood. So this is really important because this is why this is one of the reasons why we have such a big boom, is that a lot of developers are able to use this as pretty much their engine. In May 2023, Google AI makes BARD available. So that's another language model. You guys have probably heard of it. It's very similar to ChatGPT. Right now, it's only available if you have a workspace account, but that can change at any moment just because it's still in beta testing mode. And again, things change every day in this field. Okay, so here you can see the language models that we have as of March 2023. And if you guys see, GPT-4 is here. It's kind of small compared to some of these other ones. But I mean, this is what's going on in the world right now. They are being developed. They are being fine-tuned, and AI, a generative AI, I should say, is going nowhere. Okay, so what has accelerated this unprecedented expansion? Well, basically it comes down to three things. It comes down to a lot of information, a lot of data. So the internet and social media has a lot of information, a lot of textual data, and the need and the demand for these systems that could analyze and extract and make sense of all this information pretty much help fuel this boom. We also had a lot of advancements in machine learning techniques, such as neural networks and deep learning. So this provided the foundation for the training models that could comprehend and generate human language. And the third is the availability of large data sets and the increased computational power. Now, this one's big because ChatGPT is powered by NVIDIA. And if you guys know NVIDIA, they are known as they used to be known as a gaming company. They used to create processors for computers for video games. And I remember a few years ago, there was a video card, a video game, there was a shortage. There was a shortage in the processors. And at the time, I really didn't know why. I just knew there was a shortage and people were paying thousands of dollars just for one processor. But now I know why. It's because it's powering ChatGPT. So NVIDIA has grown huge, and they went from the video game industry to now they're pretty much powering language models. So it's kind of cool to see them grow that way. Okay, and then I did want to give you guys a quick difference between AI and generative AI. So we have, for instance, AI, you guys have been using AI for a while now. Like you guys saw in the chart, there was like the Roomba, you have Alexa and Siri and even Tesla's autopilot. All of that is a form of AI. The difference between that AI and what we're going to be talking about is that AI pulls data from somewhere. It's almost static in a way. It will go, you ask Siri something, it will go to a database, it will go to a web page, and it will just answer you that result. And you're going to get the same result if you ask that question. If Jamie asks that question, he's going to get the same result. But with generative AI, it's called generative because it's able to generate new content. So for instance, if I enter a prompt and Jamie enters a prompt, the answers are going to be different. So that's the biggest difference in what you guys know as traditional AI and what we're going to talk about, which is generative AI.
And then so even if we enter the exact same prompt, said the exact same way, it will have a different different response out of it. And that does support with people who worry about whether there's going to be plagiarism of content, because it's creating it brand new every time.
Is that the reason that it's different, because it's brand new, or is that based on data that's available about you, the user, and that it's targeted, that the response is targeted to you, the user?
Actually, it's because and the way I like to compare it, I say it's like a child. It's like a human brain, and the way that it makes the neural networks, the way that it makes those connections, is very similar to a human brain. So, for instance, if you ask me a question and you ask Jamie a question, and it can be the exact same question, we're both might come up with a similar answer, but the execution of it is going to be different. The word choice that we have, our sentence structure, it will be different.
Mm.
And that's why it's not necessarily pulling from a database. It has been trained on a large amount of data sets, but it pretty much has learned to learn for itself, for lack of a better term. And it pulls information almost like a human brain. So this is why, and me and Jamie have tested it. We've gone back and forth and we've used the exact same prompts, and it will give us something different. So like Jamie was saying, this is really important if you want to do any type of like blog posts or an email marketing campaign. Rest assured that you're not going to get the exact same result from that prompt as somebody else. It's going to be completely different. Okay. So we're going to talk about AI models. What is an AI model, types of AI models, and models we will use. So what is an AI model? So consider an AI model as a computer program that has been trained to execute precise tasks. It's created using special techniques and algorithm called machine learning, and they can vary in complexity from simple linear models to intricate deep neural networks. And a lot of these models have a combination of different models in order to generate what we need. So an example of this would be like image generation. So a versatile tool for any task. So I like to think of these models as tools. So if you walk into a hardware store and you have a specific task that you want to do, let's say it's going to be plumbing, you're going to go look at plumbing tools. If you're going to build a doghouse, you're going to go look at, hammers and plywood. And so it's the same concept when you're looking at these models. It depends what you want to do. What are you trying to accomplish? And based on that, you're going to pick whatever model to utilize. So here are just a few examples of types of models that we have, and a lot of them are combination used in like really complex systems. Okay, so these are just a few types of AI models. There's a lot of them out there, but these are just a few types. So we have classification, and these sort data into categories based on patterns, and you see these in email spam detection, image recognition, text categorization, document classification. We have regression models. They predict numerical values based on input variables. They can be used in predicting customer lifetime value, sales projections, risk assessment. And a lot of these things will sound familiar because you will probably already use services that have these models running in the background. We have recurrent neural networks. They process sequential data with context. They can be used in speech recognition, language recognition, time forecasting. We have convolutional neural networks, and they analyze images and extract features. And these are used in facial recognition and object detection. And we have natural language processing, NLPs. These help understand and process the human language. And they can be used to perform tasks like sentiment analysis, translations, question answering, text generation. And finally, we have generative. Generative creates new data based on learned patterns. And these can be used to produce lifelike images, create original text, content for chatbots, creative purposes, and so much more. So these are the models we're going to use. We're going to use, and this is ChatGPT for the ones that are familiar with it, is what it uses. It uses an NLP and a generative model. And these two together is so the generative part, it generates the new content. And that natural language processing is the part that it understands when you give it a command, when you type just words. Okay. Prompt engineering. What is prompting and prompting effectively? So prompting is just a word for giving a set of commands. And because these generative AI tools are built with NLPs and generative AI, you're able to give it a set of instructions with text. So traditionally, like with other computer programs, you have to learn coding, you have to learn how, to structure your data in a certain way to get the output that you want. But with these tools, it's as easy as conducting a Google search. You just type something out. So you just give clear directions or examples to an AI system and you help it understand what you want. And it's just a way to guide the AI's output by providing specific instructions or showing it how something should be done. So it is important to say that you do train these chats. When you're in Chat GPT, you have individual chats that you can go back to, and you do train them. Every time you write something, every time you prompt it, it's learning. So it can save you a lot of time because you can actually train one of these chats to do this one task for you, and you don't have to tell it repeatedly, "Hey, write an email in this tone." It already knows, so you can just type in your what you want to say in the email, and all of a sudden it outputs a nice email. So that's really cool about this, is you can just continue to train it. Okay, so prompting effectively. To prompt effectively as a beginner, you really want to follow these 4 steps. And there are more. We do go in depth in our course a little bit more when we give a lot more examples, but this is just, if you're starting out, stick to these. So number 1 is you want to define. You want to clearly state what you want the AI system to do. Remember, even though it can generate words and you can talk to it, so to speak, you can text it instructions, it's still an AI system. So you have to clearly define what you want to do, what you're trying to accomplish. And then you want to craft a specific prompt. The more specific you are, the better, because again, it's been trained on large data sets. It's going to pull from a variety of what it's been trained on, but the more specific you are, the better your output is going to be. The third one is experiment and test. And this is a big one. Just have fun with it. Experiment and experiment and experiment, because that's how you're going to get better. And number 4 is evaluate and refine. You can continue to refine. You can continue to reply in that chat and give it instructions like, yes, this part was good. No, this part wasn't. Please elaborate on the first paragraph. Things like that. So just continue to talk to it, almost like if it was a person, and always thank it. I'm always very polite to my chatbots. I always say, thank you. This was great. You're doing great. Just because, it's nice to have fun with it, but I'm always polite to it. Okay, Jamie.
All right, so we're going to get into some use cases now. And the example that's coming up, you're going to be able to see how it works in, yeah, you can stay right here for a second. You're going to see how it works in Chat GPT. We'll break down the development of the prompt. You'll see once we enter that prompt into Chat GPT, how it's creating the response. I do want to mention that the creation of the response, we actually brought it down to 1/4 time, because these platforms move so quickly and generating the responses that it can happen so fast that people can't pick up on all these nuances of what it's doing through the process. So we're going to look at examples when it comes to content generation, how we can create articles, stories. There's so many more applications we can create. Content calendars, social media marketing calendars for a specific brand based off of a specific voice. It's pretty crazy, this stuff. I'll even show you some examples of how this starts to come together when you get to the more advanced parts of it. All right, so you can move on to the next. So what you're seeing here, this is the whole thing. This is a prompt. This isn't part of a prompt. This whole thing on the right side from the start. As an experienced SEO specialist and content writer, create an in-depth SEO optimized comparison article based on the following aspects. Topic 1, Topic 2, target keywords, target audience, competing URLs, task requirements, deliverable. So this is the prompt. So if we think of typically the person who's going into these platforms are writing like a sentence or 2 sentences. Well, I mean, this could have another 10 layers in here where we're establishing the voice of the brand that I want it to write in as well. So this is when we get into the course, we discuss how to develop these more in-depth prompts that can create more deliverables for us. And so we have in here deliverable, provide an in-depth SEO optimized comparison article on a specific topic, product, service, targeting the provided keywords and catering to the target audience. Article should be well researched, engaging, and informative with clear headings, subtitles, bullet points, and relevant visuals. Ensure content is proofread, edited for clarity, grammar, and punctuation. It will do all of these things. And you could even add additional things if you want. Also put a bullet point list of this and then. Also create a chart, a pricing chart based off of this. And it will do it all for you in that same prompt. Okay, we can move on to the next. So let's see. When we put it in. And it's going. So that's the prompt. It just got entered. And now it's generating. So it has a meta description, an introduction is created now. It has different sections of it, location and climate, Aruba versus Mexico, second section, natural beauty and attractions, Aruba versus Mexico. So it's breaking these down based off of the parameters that we had asked for. Now, because we're utilizing ChatGPT-4 in this as the model with a paid plan, we can also input websites, and it's going to look at live data that's available through websites, the internet, to be able to get the resources that we need for more information. So it stopped, it paused. It's kind of like that Netflix, like, are you still watching moment? And then you hit continue. And so now it's creating the rest of it. Section 4, accommodation options, and now it's putting together a pricing chart for us. Price comparison, expenses. It's pulling in reviews. So reviews from Trustpilot, Aruba reviews. We see positive reviews, negative reviews. Mexico, positive reviews. And again, this is happening in 1/4 time. So if it was happening in real time, it would have been done a while ago. But we wanted to slow it down so you could really see what this looks like when we're going. And then if we want, we can now hit continue generating again. It's giving us a pause. Do you want more information? Are you good with what you have? We continue. And then has a conclusion now. So it pulls it all together, is creating a conclusion paragraph. Has information when making your decision, consider these factors. And then notes about where it got specific information. All right, so this is when we see that mega prompt we put together, and it takes time for sure. It's not as easy as just throwing in that statement in there, but when you develop it, understand, and have the skill set around it, you can create something really incredible and have it do it in one shot for you. And then you can utilize, so when Cindy was talking about you train these, so if we wanted to do this again for 2 other topics, we could just take that same prompt, change the topics in there, or even just put the topics and drop it in. And it's going to know from the requirements of things we've asked before, it's going to redo everything. You just have to put the new topics that it wants to compare. It knows what his job is, and it's going to now compare again in the future. All right.
Jamie,
Yeah.
So what, I don't know, like how, with that original prompt, do you guys have like, do you use like a template where you kind of know what those categories are and you fill those in, or they tend to be ones, you know, I mean, there are a few there that you repeat a few times. So how much time, or what's the work process of sort of populating that?
Yeah, so depending on what types of prompts you're looking for, when you have this, so again, when you have the skill set around it, it could take a couple minutes for you to put together the prompt. It could take half an hour to put together the prompt. We have in the course, part of it is teaching you how to know the concepts to develop your own prompts, but also part of the course is having a dynamic prompt library. So we have a bunch of prompts already put together for you where you can copy and paste it and then just fill it out and then get your results out of it. So I can't remember how many prompts we have in that library, but we break it down into 9 different categories of prompts. Again, that goes in the coaching, like an ask prompt versus a summarize prompt versus a research prompt versus a translation prompt. So like we break them down specifically and then give you these templates that you can copy and paste in the future and then add your own content into to be able to do this on a faster, at a faster pace and have some really great results out of it. All right, so this is another prompt in here. So this is for developing a story. So we have the prompt, we have the title, genre, description of protagonist, action, goal, conflict, action, decision, setting, secondary character, role, main, objective, consequence, themes, lesson, and climactic moment. So we can add all of this stuff in, and we can even utilize this brainstorm. So not in this prompt specifically, but we can utilize it to brainstorm on some of these things for us if we get stuck. All right, let's hit the next. So we're adding it in, and this is going to be, I think, half time instead of the 4th time. So you're, again, it's not real time. It's faster, twice as fast as this, but you're starting to see it's developing the outline of the chapters based off of the criteria that you put in. Great. And so we have the outline here. If we wanted to take it even further with a prompt response, we could have it start to write some of these chapters for us. Or we can prompt in, say, ooh, I really like chapter 8 or chapter 9. Can we change this about chapter 9? It'll adjust it. Or let's add 2 other chapters that have a focus in this way for it before we utilize it to write out the content for us. All right, you can go next. So this is going to show you image prompts. So we also have these different templates for image prompts, and then we even give specifics about medium and composition, because there's a lot of different options that you can choose for medium and composition. This is really, really cool. As we're going to see this, we're not going to see real time. We enter the prompt and it generates it. We're going to show you some of the outcomes because we actually go through this in the class of what you can get with some of these different prompts we put in play. But you can again see like the depth of what you're creating for some of these prompts. And if you want to go next, and what it can create for you. So these are all generated by AI. And some of the different tools that are out there are going to be able to generate different images in different ways, or some are better for people versus others are really not good for generating people, but the ones that aren't good at generating people are good for creating cartoon like characters or objects in here. So again, there was nothing that we fed. It created it based off of what we had in writing. These are the things that came up out of it. So you can hit next to show some different examples. So if you're a beauty salon, you can have it create these for you from scratch. And you can move on to the next, merchandise. You can have it create merchandise or bottles for you if you want to have some images that represent things for you to be able to use in the future. You can use this as a stepping stone too, where some people utilize this to create the image that then they can add some more graphic design onto. So if they wanted to use this to develop the image, but then they can pull it into another platform to add their logo to that specific image to cut down on the different steps that they have. And you can go next. And then this is even real estate. This is all created by AI. So these aren't actual places that exist in here, but they're things that are created based off of what we asked for. So it can get really realistic for the different outcomes that you have. And it can be a scenario where we have clients who want a very specific image, but there's nothing available out there for them unless they wanted to pay a lot of money to be able to get specific artwork, and maybe that artwork doesn't even fit them perfectly. It's like the best of what is available out there. We can now utilize AI to generate specific artwork or different scenes for clients, for websites, for content, to show people utilizing products or services. We can create all that stuff with AI.
Jamie, was this using Dolly?
So
No.
it's some of these you can create very similarly with Dolly, but there's Midjourney is the one that you used.
I used Midjourney, and believe it or not, Canva. Canva has a text to image generator.
Yeah.
So some of these were like the middle one was made on Canva. These were made on Canva. This was made on Midjourney. Yeah, and then these two were made on Midjourney. This one was made on Canva, and these were all made on Midjourney.
So yeah, with Dolly, you can create a lot of this type of content. Well, you can't do effectively as people. That tool has not been trained as well as another tool called Midjourney for developing people and content. So if you're looking for objects, a platform like Canva or Scenes or Dolly can be really good. But if you're looking for people and stuff, then you have to use a platform like Midjourney to be able to do that. And that's a little bit more complex because you have to use Discord to be able to use it with, what do you call them, slash commands?
Yes.
Yeah, to be able to use it. So it's totally doable. And someone who has used like commands before, if they've ever done coding, like it's so much more simple than coding to be able to use something like Discord, use Midjourney through Discord, but it's definitely for someone like myself who, like my kids, they use Discord and I never use Discord. Having to get into it, it's different for sure. And if you have it set up the right way, it can be really user friendly as well. All right, so this just gets into utilizing Canva if you want to have it create a bunch of content based off of a CSV file. So why don't you click the next? Keep going. All right, so we're using bulk data. This is an app inside of Canva. And what we're doing is adjusting these different, the frame in here. So this is the image, and we're now pulling in data from a file. And then we created the context inside of Canva to say, this is where a title should go. This is where your content should go. And then it now generated all of that with each one of these specific titles that we had in this like Excel document. So we had a column for titles, a column for description, and then it's able to create that now for us because we connected the data through here. So just another example, a different way that you're able to utilize AI to develop this content. If you're doing something like, which we know is really impactful on a platform like Instagram, having some of these carousel posts where you might have like tip 1, tip 2, tip 3, or instead of having to like generate it, each one of those manually, you just have that file that you import, and now it created 1 through 10, and you can add each of those, the 10 images, and now you create a carousel and it took you, 5-10 minutes just to get the data in and connect it versus, an hour, 2 hours to go and create each one of those individual out of the 10 and make sure everything's formatted right. So definitely shortcutting time. Yeah.
I do want to add that the tips that we got here, we generated in ChatGPT. So you can go to ChatGPT and say, give me 10 top tips for something. And then you take the data, put it in here, and bam, you have really quick social media posts. It's really cool stuff.
Yeah, and then one step further is that you can say in ChatGPT, create top 10 tips, create a column for the title of the tip, create a column for the description of the tip, and then you can copy that from ChatGPT, paste it right into a Google Sheet, and then you can use that as a CSV file. So like even cooler are some of these things. Again, gets back to prompting and understanding the capabilities of these platforms as well. Yeah. All right. So this just gets into like the things that you can do with it if you wanted to generate great subject lines or email content, whether that's just a regular email. We've had it in the past, like generate a email to a client that we're having trouble with because of X, Y, and Z things, because that could be really difficult. I know Megan, Jessica, you're both business owners. And when you have to have some of these conversations or generate some of this content that's a little bit more thought-provoking and not something that you can easily throw together, you can put the parameters and you can create that inside of ChatGPT, and it's incredible what you can do. Instead of spending an hour thinking about like, how do I say this? You can just create the parameters, say, do it in a friendly but professional voice. Based off of X, Y, and Z, and then it will generate it for you and save so much time. So we've seen businesses use it in that way. Yeah, you can get tons and tons of insights out of this as well. Whether you're using it for research, you can use it for market research. You can put again, if you have the paid plan through ChatGPT in the beta version, or you use another tool like we do called JasperAI, which is also paid, you can have it checked off to be able to look live, and you can be like, all right, take a look at this website, tell me what you think the voice is, and it'll create a voice based off of the content on the website. And then, all right, now I can take that voice that it created off of it, and I can apply that voice to this content now that I'm creating for this brand in the future. So, and you can train it as well. So maybe you say, here's the voice, and then you're seeing like, I'm picking up on some stuff that doesn't really match us. Just tell it. And then it will adjust that voice for you based off the parameters. So again, it's a little bit weird at first, but you're having conversation with ChatGPT, with AI, and trying to develop that relationship and the understanding of what it's doing for the outcome that you're looking for. All right, Cindy, you can click next. So these are the topics covered. If you want to bump out of that and stop so I can share quickly, so I can show some of this. All right, I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to show JasperAI. And when we're recommending tools, you can do everything with ChatGPT that you can do with JasperAI. It's just that on our team, Cindy has way more knowledge base around ChatGPT, and I have more knowledge base around JasperAI. So we know these different tools. So when we were discussing chats, which you can create these different, we call them chat bots that are doing different things, whether you have one that's creating a summary for you. So like as a person who is a business owner or working for a business, sometimes you get these emails that are like super long. You're like, oh my God, it's like a 17-page email. And like, I got to take this information and discern it. You can copy it, paste it in, ask it to do a summary with bullet points on all this stuff for you. And then boom, instead of having to like read it and like take these notes on it, like now it's just going to spit it out for you, the major points. You can ask it to even do something with that. All right, take all these major points from this voice, create a response for each one of these points based off of this information. And now it'll summarize it for you, bullet points of all the key things that you're looking at, and then it can create responses based off of the parameters that you set up in it. So we can see that I create things and we teach. This gets a little bit more into the advanced. We can use it for summaries. We can use it for service descriptions. We can use it as a translation tool. So if you wanted to translate from English to Spanish, like we just tell it and create those parameters, and then we just put the English word in there, and it just knows and will translate it to Spanish for us. We can use it for email marketing, contract clauses, Google Ads. We're creating policies, pricing charts. I even use it, this is more on the marketing side, if I'm like, create custom CSS code or HTML code for me for a website based on these parameters, and it will spit out a code I can use, and it will actually tell me how to do it and walk me through it and give me instructions on how. Step 1, log into this platform. Step 2, click on this. Step 3, click there. Step 4, copy this. Step 5, paste it in. So again, we set up the parameters, and then we can start to utilize these different chat threads for us. And so this is just an example of one that created to be able to create HTML code. So we ask it what we want. It's going to create the code for us. And then it's going to tell us some of the properties of it. And then we can ask it, give me instructions on how to utilize this code on a WordPress website. And it will create the specific instructions. Pricing charts. I want to create pricing charts. Or maybe I want to create timeline, like week 1, we're doing this. Week 2, I can feed it the data, and now it's going to break down and create these charts that I can now copy and paste into my documentation. So take the content that I've created, paste it in, or I can even ask it, based off these parameters, give me a timeline, how long you think it's going to take me to do X, Y, and Z things, and then it will spit out the timeline and like what you would do each week for that timeline, and then you can have it create you a chart as well. And these are, it's always stunning how accurate these results come out, because they have huge data sets that they're looking at to be able to come up with this information. Like when you're asking for it to create blog content, and you can say, this is my topic, this is the voice, this is the audience, and you can say, cover a couple things with some bullet points in there, and it can create this really in-depth blog post that now like really digs into your, because it can come in from the perspective of thousands of articles or thousands of data points that is now pulled from to become an expert or close to an expert in your field, because it can pull all that data and be able to recognize it and then create content from all that data simultaneously. So it's incredible what you're able to do and create with these platforms like JasperAI or ChatGPT. All right, I'm going to stop my share. We have 9 minutes left, so we're going to open it up if you have any questions now about this.
I have one question.
Yep.
Before I invest in the time and money to really learn about these tools, can you give us a sense of how much it costs to buy the paid versions, and like all in, what kind of investment is it in these tools?
Yeah, so if you're going the route of ChatGPT, like the content creation, not visually yet, but just the content, the writing itself, you're looking at $20 a month for that tool. So not super expensive. And if you think about like your cost benefit analysis, usually like, how much hours, even if I save a half an hour by using this in a monthly, like I've already made my money back out of it. So that's cost for the tool. Now, Mid-Journey, when you get more advanced, I want to say that's like $15 a month. That's the image generation tool. Dolly has a free version. Cindy, is that correct?
No, not anymore. No, Dolly, it's credits. So the minimum credits you can buy it's $15, and I think that gives you 115 credits, and every credit is a generation. So every time you generate something, that's a credit. Mid-Journey $10 for their base plan, like the most basic, $30 for the standard, and I think $60 for the plus. But I don't anticipate, I just have the $10 plan and that works fine. But most of the tools we talk about, Jamie, I think they're very cost effective or they're free. Like Google Bard, if you have a Google Workspace account, that's free. If you want to use ChatGPT-4 and you don't have a paid plan, you can use Bing. Bing Chat is powered by ChatGPT-4. There's another free one called Perplexity, which runs off of ChatGPT. So a lot of our tools that we talk about, I would say, right, Jamie, are very, very cost effective.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'd say the bigger thing is the time investment of putting into it, because our course, which is the 4-week course, is $199. So there's, some money in that for sure, but you think of it as a lifetime investment because it's not like if you use a service and it's only worth it for the month that these things you're going to continue to be able to use month in and month out. It's going to continue to do the things that you ask it to do in the future. So what you're learning in here, it's lifetime. Now, people who want to get really in depth into it, like they want to do stuff like create all of these very specific channels or bots, and then they're called persona models, where you're giving it the parameters and telling it its responsibility and really digging into it deep. That's some more of the advanced stuff. And so we do have an advanced coaching package. The people who want to go down there, that's $1,000. But I think most of the businesses who are utilizing it are not they're not ready to go high level and in depth yet. I think the purchase of the course and then the monthly cost that we discussed is really the short to medium term investment that they would make in doing that. Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you.
Got it.
I think it's worth it. I think I use ChatGPT, and to be able to use their beta model, which is ChatGPT-4, they have a lot of apps that you can use. So you can use these connected apps. For instance, like I will upload a PDF and then I will say, okay, give me a summary and make me a chart, or make me a diagram of the data. And it's sometimes that is a little bit slower just because it's analyzing more data and it's pulling the PDF. But I go refill my coffee, come back, and bam, I have a chart. I have a diagram of the data, and it completely summarized everything for me. It's like having a personal assistant that's super fast. So I say it's worth it at $20. Even I'm a lifetime user. Even if they up the price, that's it. I'm sold. I'm in.
It's like a personal assistant that loves your feedback.
Yes. 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 And I always thank it. I always say thank you, please. I'm very polite. Just you never know. There could be a robot revolution. You want to say, hey, I'm the nice one. I'm the one that said thank you.
So do you guys, like for me with my kind of business, I think Caroline's going to do this for me. I can see her formulating over there. Megan, Caroline and I work together, which is why I'm referring to her. But this is new, even though I use AI in daily life. But it's almost as if all the stuff that I work so hard to do could be done with this, right? So is there, with you guys having more experience, do you work with companies to kind of do an AI assessment, or to kind of work with them to identify where they could use this most effectively?
Yeah, so that would happen in the higher level coaching package, because we would actually dive into more specific tools based off of the business and what they need. But again, I don't think that's where you are yet with stuff. I think.
Really?
I know you will.
I can say that. Like these long, detailed reports that I write, and that like if I already have a report that I've written on a totally different topic that has the tone and the look of it and everything, that I could just like bring new data in and get, you know, instead of spending 40 hours on a report. Yeah. So when you say I'm not there yet, what do you mean by that?
I mean, I think that like in the higher level usage of it, yes. But I think some of these other tools you wouldn't need to use yet, aren't ready to use yet. But you know, at the end of the course, that's something that you could determine like, all right, well now, like after doing the course, we are ready for some of these things. I mean, we are able to create, you know, 80-page RFPs for businesses that would take us, you know, customized ones that would take us, you know, 100 hours to put together. We can do that in like 5 to 10 hours max to be able to do those things that are really customized. And if you're doing something that's like the standard, like you did it before and it's very similar, it's just different data, like you could do it in even less time than that 5 to 10 hours in the future utilizing AI to be able to do that. So some of that stuff you will pick up in this course for sure. And then what you won't be able to pick up that you could in a more advanced.
Got you.
For sure. All right, excellent. So we'll send over the resources. This was recorded today, so anyone who wasn't able to make it is able to see it. You all get a copy of the recording from today. And if you have any questions, let us know. The course is starting in a couple of weeks, so we'll also have some information related to the course start date. And we hope to see you in our course. It's super fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got it.
Hi, thank you.
Bye, everyone.